Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is Chatter Out Loud, a podcast where I share thoughts and TV commentary on shows I like to watch. Now, before I start, I want to ask that you go ahead, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And on YouTube, where I upload my companion episode of my podcast, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This way, you can get a notification every time I post a new episode, and you won't miss out. It doesn't cost you anything to follow and subscribe, so go ahead, subscribe, hit the bell, and thank you in advance. So welcome and welcome back. I thank you so much for joining me. Your presence is very much appreciated. Okay, so let's catch up on the live feeds. There was a lot of chatter last night and today all around the house. Some things were interesting. Most were not. I have to admit, most things were uninteresting today. It seemed there was a lot of talk. Everyone's trying to figure out where the votes will go. So there was a lot of talk about that. I hadn't seen a lot of Kyle today. And for that, I say thank you, Big Brother Canada. Or I should say, thank you, Big Brother Canada production. We thank you. You didn't put him out there a lot, and thank you. All right. Again, I didn't find things too exciting today, but I'll give it a try. All right, I want to start with Jess. Do you ever notice Jess just shows up everywhere? They stay around and they're in the mix. I think they do this very well because you want to stay in front of people, right? You don't want to disappear and then have people target you. Like what I think Devon said this in Big Brother US. She says, when you're not missed in the game, that means you're getting ready to go. And Devon, I mean, she was good TV. She was terrible at Big Brother, but that was a good point, right? So Jess stays in front of everyone, and they insert themselves into strategy. It's just so amazing to me. And here's an example. Jess is talking to Helena in the Expedia room. And by the way, I kept calling it the chess room or the game room. But now I heard them say it's the Expedia room. So that's how I'll refer to it moving forward. All right. So in the Expedia room, Jess is talking with Helena. And during that discussion, Jess tells Helena that Kyle is taking out all of the people that are close with them in an attempt to target them because Kyle is threatened by them. So Kyle is doing all of this because he is threatened by Jess. That's what Jess is telling Helena. And Jess thinks that Kyle is doing this because, or no, I wrote this note down wrong. I think Jess is telling Helena this to try to convince Helena to not vote Kyle's way, right? I don't remember anyone targeting Jess. I really feel that they use Jess as a number only. They entertain Jess because they're using Jess for their vote. That's it. They don't consider Jess like a game player in that, you know, they're going to pull them into strategy and pull them into an alliance, you know. That's not how Jess is viewed in the game. But the way they're walking around the house and inserting themselves into strategy and talking and always in someone's face, always in the conversation, it's funny to me. But I think that's what Jess needs to do. They need to be in people's faces. Right? So Calamity Kyle, isn't that what the BB announcer called him? BB announcer called Kyle in the introduction, Calamity Kyle. I thought that was so funny. That's what I'm going to refer to him. Calamity Kyle, if I remember. But anyway, I don't think Calamity Kyle is doing all of this to target Jess. It's just another thing I see of people trying to figure out what the hell did Kyle do? Why is he doing this? And everyone is trying to make sense of it, and it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, when you watch the live feeds next time or the next episode, take note and just watch how much Jess pops up. A lot. Every turn. Jess is there. Jess is sitting down. Jess is walking in on conversations. It is hysterical to me. All right. But and I also wanted to say the fact that it appears to be working, right? Because they haven't been on the block the last 2 times, right? So, all right. Helena asks Marty whether or not he gets that he is basically the low man on the totem pole between Kyle and Gino. And then she warns him that they will cut him at some point. And Marty says, I know, but not now. And then he goes right into talking about a final 2 with him and Helena. And I don't know why I hadn't noticed this before. And it may be because of Calamity Kyle and his disastrous HOH. It just got us all distracted, right? So I didn't see this before. But this is the second night in the row where Marty is making a final 2 or attempting to make a final 2. Last night it was Summer, or the night before it was Summer. Last night, or maybe early this morning, it was Helena. But I'm going to keep watching this just to see how, if he's trying to, I want to know what Marty's up to. This is not for the sake of trying to do what Kyle, or, to vote Josh out. What he's doing now is just, to me, I think he's just trying to find another avenue or trying to secure safety in other people, because look at the disaster that look at Kyle's disastrous HOH, I should say, right? And maybe he's looking at this saying, oh my God, what am I a part of? This is crazy, And Calamity Kyle, he really pissed off Marty with not keeping him informed of the decisions of who was going up. He didn't invite him to the party that they had in the HOH room. He just happened to walk in on it. And so Marty was pretty upset about that. So maybe he's doing this, trying to make final 2s, trying to talk to other people to secure himself in other people outside of his, boys, All right, Herman and Marty, I think everyone was bored in the house at this time, or they were really tired and getting ready to go to sleep. But Herman and Marty played cowboys, galloping on air horses. It was quite odd, but I think everyone in the house is just feeling the pressure of being on Big Brother. Maybe. That's the only way I can explain it. It was odd. It cracked everyone up in the house. I just looked at it and said, oh boy. Yeah. And the longer they stay in the house, do you think we'll continue to see this silliness? I don't know. All right. Marty was talking with Kyle in the Expedia room. And he brought up how he talked to Canada again, right? He was talking to Kyle. He's like, yeah. And I turned to the camera and I told Canada. So Marty's talking to Canada again. And I'm like, oh no, stop with talking to Canada. Stop it. All right. In the question mark room, Tanisha, Josh, Betty, and Jess are counting votes. And they say that they cannot wait to flip the house. And I really want to celebrate with them. If they pull this off, I'll be excited. Josh staying, I'll be excited, But I also want them to follow up with an HOH win. They just have to win the next HOH. They have to. All right. Summer is still a little leery about Herman. And I think she needs to trust that feeling. I was like sending vibes like, Summer, don't let go of that. Don't dismiss this feeling. Just hold on to it. Keep that third eye open. I think she has a good read on people. She just needs to win the next HOH or POV. Someone from that side of the house needs to win. They have to shake everything up. By the way, the Rebel rejects, Herman apparently said no to being in that alliance. That's what Summer was telling Tanisha. He doesn't want to be a part of the alliance. And who was in that alliance? Let me think. It was Tanisha, Kevin, Summer, Helena, and Josh. And then they were going to bring in Herman. When they first talked about it, they said, yeah, and we have to talk to Herman to see if he remembers. And I thought that was strange. Like, what do you mean if he remembers? But apparently, according to Summer, Herman doesn't want to be in the rebel rejects. So I find that interesting, right? Summer is also telling Tanisha that there's speculation that the whole thing that Kyle did between Kyle and Steph and putting her up and all of that was fake. And in my mind, I kind of tuned it out because I just immediately went to, here they go, trying to make sense of what Kyle did. And it just doesn't make sense. He's a terrible HOH. He's targeting people in his own alliance. He's switching targets. Now he's wanting to save someone he nominated. And at some point, I hope they just conclude that it just doesn't make sense. It's messy. It wasn't thought through. And it just displays that Calamity Kyle, is not strategic. And I don't care how much chess he plays or how many people he teaches to play chess in that house. He's not a strategic thinker. Sorry. That's my takeaway based on his actions in his first 4 days of being HOH. And he'll never change my mind. I will now and forever see Calamity Kyle as one of the worst HOHs in BB history. Yep. Now, granted, I probably won't remember him in a few years, but for now, that's my stance, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Today, Marty, Gino, and Jess were in the Expedia room. There was a lot happening in the Expedia room today. And see, Jess popped up again, as always, consistently popping up in people's faces. So Gino and Marty were in the Expedia room. Jess is popping up. But anyway, in the room, Marty is referring to someone snoring. And I didn't get the name at first. He says that he has to give him a jab for him to stop snoring. And then once he said that, I think he's talking about Herman because they're bunk buddies, I think. Anyway, Jess says, roll him on his side. And they ask, is he on his back when he's snoring? And Marty said, no, he's on his stomach. And Jess goes, how is that possible? And then chuckles, right? And then Jess says, that just doesn't make any scientific sense. Marty just shrugs it off and says, well, I don't know. I'm pretty much saying, like, I'm not a scientist. I don't know. And Jess still goes on, and they're humored by all of this, and says, how can you snore in your stomach, right? And then 30 seconds of silence goes by. Nobody's saying anything. People are just letting it go, right? And then here goes Jess. Jess goes, it just doesn't make sense. I thought snoring was like your tongue biting. I can't even get it out. Jess says, it just doesn't make sense. I thought snoring was like your tongue vibrating with air, and it needs to be relaxed to do it, to make that noise. And then they said, it's just crazy to me. I don't know. This is another example of awkward conversation, right? They're saying this to make their point that it's likely impossible to snore in your stomach, right? So they're literally taking what Marty said, completely overlooking the fact that Marty was trying to be funny, right? Herman is snoring. He's making fun of it, trying to make a laugh and say, I had to jab him, and it was all in fun, but Jess missed that cue and steadily is trying to understand, well, how can someone snore on their stomach? It just is so crazy to me. And I'm like, oh my God, the cue, they can't pick up on the cues when people are joking or trying to be funny. And then the conversation just turned into, well, this is impossible. How can someone snore on their stomach? And then she talked about the tongue vibrating with the air. I'm like, oh my God, Jess, here we go again. And I wanted to say, just engage in the conversation. It was clear Marty was just trying to shoot the shit. Like, they're just talking, right? Just be in the conversation. Let him think he's funny. But she just can't do that. They had just had to make sense. What do you mean that they snored on their stomach? Your tongue has to vibrate with the air. Oh my goodness. That made me laugh today. Anyway, what are we going to do with Jess? Later on, then we see Jess offloading to Kevin. So now Jess is now in the common area talking with Kevin, letting him know that they feel some type of way when he goes around. This is what Jess is saying to Kevin. I feel some type of way when you are going around talking to everyone just after you told me you wanted to go to bed when Jess was trying to talk to Kevin. So apparently Jess went up to Kevin, was trying to talk to him. He's like, hey, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. And then Jess sees Kevin talking with a lot of other people. So it made Jess feel some type of way. And I'm thinking another example of Jess does not pick up on, she can't pick up, or they can't pick up on cues, right? The reason Kevin said he was tired is because he was trying to be polite. Say, I need to get away from you. You're driving me nuts. You're annoying me. So I'm just going to say, the polite thing to do is to say, hey, I'm just tired. I'm going to head to bed. We don't want Kevin to say, you're annoying the hell out of me. Leave me alone. That messes up his game. Is rude. People are still human. I mean, everyone's human. You don't want to do that. You don't want to say that, right? You want to try to be nice, I guess. But just another example, Jess doesn't pick up on cues. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. All right. What else did they say in that conversation? I don't even care anymore. All right. Josh and Moose, they're chatting in I think it's the dollar sign room or the money room. I can't, one of those rooms. And I think, that all of this was, or Moose says he thinks that all of this was a blessing in disguise, because they think that Calamity Kyle's plan all along was to get rid of the 7. And yet again, they're trying to make sense of what Kyle did, and you can't make sense. So we have Jess thinking that Kyle is doing this to target them. We have Summer telling Tanisha that, supposedly this was all, staged, it's speculation that it's staged. We have Moose saying it's a blessing in disguise because Kyle was trying to get rid of the 7. Everybody's trying to make excuses. And the fact is, it's just nonsensical. What Kyle did just made no sense. He didn't think through it. It wasn't strategic. It was more emotional. He was erratic his first few days, and you can't make sense of it. All right. Later, it sounded like Marty was saying something like, if I try to save you, when he was talking with Josh. But I didn't have interest in rewinding, trying to figure out that conversation. I just picked up on that little bit. But he does tell Josh, in order for him to do that, he would have to secure Jess 100%. So I don't know what this is about. This is just another example of Marty either playing the game or trying to secure himself with other people outside of Gino and Kyle. I don't know. Then he says after that he trusts Josh. Now this is Marty's telling Josh he trusts him. And Josh said, I trust you too. And I'm like, I hope Josh isn't falling for this. I can't believe Marty's doing it. I can. It's part of the game. Okay. Something tells me I wouldn't trust it. And I hope that Josh senses this too. Don't trust it. Don't believe it. I think a lot of people are just saying things just to appease different people because of the way the power is landed this week. But I'm hoping that they actually are trying to appease people. I hope they're not gullible and thinking that they really can work with these people afterwards, or they really can trust, I hope they don't do that. Later, it sounded like, I just read that. Sorry. Oh, all right. Let's see. Marty is swearing on his kids that he didn't hide Tanisha's pillow. I don't know why they're talking about this. This happened a couple days ago, but Tanisha and Summer are talking, and Tanisha said that Marty swore on his kids that he didn't hide her pillow, but then he told Tanisha that he was the mastermind And Kevin actually hid the pillow, but he didn't hide the pillow. And I agreed with Tanisha that it's the same thing and he needs to stop swearing on his kids. It's just terrible. All right. Helena is spilling information. She does that well in the game. She not only knocks over cups and spill things, but she spills a lot of information all over that house. She is all over the place. I really have not figured out where her loyalties lie. We'll see after Thursday night, after the vote. We'll see for sure. But anyway, Helena is spilling info on what Kyle talked to her about, targeting Tanisha, Summer, and Betty, including the part where Kyle criticized Betty for slamming down those puzzle pieces during the Power of Veto competition. This is so petty. I can't. They actually got a kick out of it. They started laughing too. And Helena thinks Kyle is condescending when he talks to her. And it sounds like Helena landed on the side with the rebel rejects. So I think she's really a part of it. But like I said, I don't know. We'll have to see after Thursday. So if the rebel rejects holds true, I think they would have the numbers. But like I said, they have to win an HOH. It's just a must this week. They have to. Because they'll have the numbers and they'll have power. They need at least 1 week. It would be nice to have both the HOH and the power of veto on the other side, one next week. But I would like to see 2 weeks in a row. But they have to do it this week. It just has to happen. All right. Betty called Kyle ugly. And they all looked at her and they chuckled, but it was kind of like an awkward chuckle, then a silence. And then they tried to save their friend on national TV, right? By saying, "You mean he's ugly on the inside, right?" That cracked me up. And then here's Helena with the insult saying, he's standing 6'2" and he needs to bring it down to a 5'8". And I actually thought that was a good line. I thought I heard her say that before, but I like that. I may try to use that in my world. Maybe. It made me laugh. But it appears that they are completely over Calamity Kyle. And frankly, so am I. Right? All right, that's all I had. Yeah, that's all I had for the night. I really tried. It just was boring today. I'm sorry. So be sure to come back and give me a listen. I'd love for you to like, share, follow, and subscribe. You can leave me a comment, leave me a message. If you're listening to the podcast, there's a link to leave me a message right on the landing page. So check that out. All right. My name is Danielle, and you're listening to my podcast, Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I appreciate your support. And that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.